Hello, welcome to the channel and thanks for watching. And in this video we'll do a little bit of an unboxing of some X-Wing miniatures game ships. Talk about the idea of, do game systems ever die, and why you would play a game system that isn't supported anymore. So if you like what I'm doing, Facebook and Instagram, Adam's Hobby Stuff, check me out. Obviously subscribe down below if you haven't already done so. So the second video I ever put on this channel, I think it was the unboxing of the Sea Rock Cruiser for X-Wing, and in that I talked about how I'd never bothered upgrading to version 2. Started playing X-Wing when it very first came out with a bunch of mates. We got Series 1, we got really into it, we played it an awful lot, and we kind of moved away from some of the other game systems we played. And then like you do, you play it a lot, you drift back into the original game systems, and then you kind of play it infrequently. Never been a tournament player for X-Wing, so, you know, the drive when it upgraded to version 2 wasn't really there, because if you've got a group you're playing, the whole group has got to want to upgrade, and it can be quite pricey, so we didn't. And then as time has gone on, a few years into version 2, again, never really upgraded. I buy the occasional ship for it, pick up a version 1.1 and crack on. So this I picked up off eBay for a very reasonable price, less than the retail price of a new one, and it is a complete set. You can see here you've got the instruction cards with all the new missions and things on, which is something I love about X-Wing, and a completely sealed up set with the dials and the cards in, which is something I would never be able to do and sell on at a later date, because even if I'd never get around to building the models, I open them, I look at them, I look at the sort of sprues and the bits and pieces. But it's nice to see that, there are some out there that you can still get hold of, and the hunt now has become kind of the fun of playing an old system, rooting through a set like I'm seeing here and going, oh, I don't recognise what these bomb cards are, and when you flick through the upgrade cards and you haven't a clue what they are, because even though they're multiple years old, if you've never owned the set, especially for a game like X-Wing, the rules are in the pack. So if you come across some bomb tokens that you've never had on another ship, cluster mines for example, there's something new to read and new to get into, even with a game system that is old. You will see it a lot nowadays. You've got people playing Old Hammer, if you're a Warhammer fan. And the joy of looking through this kit, look here, you've got Kane and Jarrus can fly the ship with a decent pilot skill, Chopper, not so much of a pilot skill, some interesting rules. The joy of looking through this, it's just as much as if this was a Season 2 ship for me, because this is the system I'm playing. Over lockdown, over the last 18 months it is now, my son has got into X-Wing, and for him, exploring X-Wing, even though it's old, is the same joy of exploring a new game system that is coming out for the first time. And I think that's the point when it comes to old game systems. Eventually, companies will stop supporting it. Version 1 of X-Wing, for example, 40k is now on to edition 9. Same thing with Warhammer. The companies need to continue to make money. So obviously at some point they're going to think, well, the sales have dropped on this line, or we're not selling rule books or whatever, so we need to upgrade the version to generate and stimulate sales, which is why companies, do upgrade. Doesn't mean you have to follow it. If you're not in the meta of the current version and you don't go to tournaments and you don't play in tournaments all the time, and there's 8 or 9 of you that play a system and you're going to go to that club and not all of you want to upgrade, well, you can still continue to have that enjoyment. Now, if, for example, which is the existence in current X-Wing and current 40k, they're releasing models there are no rules for in the first edition, well, that's when you get the choice. Now, I'm quite lucky in that, as we actually physically get what is a lovely model out of the box here. We'll talk about the attack shuttle. So, lovely little model. Fits in exactly with the background of the series. When you look at the Ghost ship, they've made it match it is in the cartoon series, and that for me is why I like it, because the series is set in the proper era of Star Wars, the original kind of trilogy stage, the Empire, the Rebels, Darth Vader, that type of thing. And that's the section of Star Wars I love. I have no interest in collecting prequel ships. I watch the prequels, they're okay, don't overly enjoy them, but I have no interest in gaming in that era of Star Wars. I'm not interested in gaming in the sequel era of Star Wars either. So actually, the fact that all the first edition X-Wing ships are all the ones set in the series and timeline I like, absolutely ideal that I would want to be collecting the Series 1. There is no incentive for me currently to upgrade to the second version. And that's something you need to think about. I play 40k with a couple of different groups of friends, one group of which one chap in particular, still plays 8th edition with his son, because that's what his son knows and understands, still a fairly young lad, and doesn't want to confuse him dropping in loads of different rules, because they've got all the codexes for 8th edition, so that's what they're playing. When he comes to play with us, he's got a 9th edition codex, because he wanted some of the stuff that's now in 9th edition that wasn't in 8th edition. So you need a 9th edition book, you need to kind of join in. And that's the thing when game systems evolve and new models come out. If you want to play with the new models, you do kind of need to upgrade, obviously, for those reasons. And that's why the companies do it, to generate sales and those type of things we discussed. But if for me, I've got no real desire in X-Wing to play with the new ships and the new models, I don't need to upgrade that system because everyone I know plays the original system as well. And you can even introduce brand new players into an old system. So when this video gets published, we'll be currently playing some games with a couple of guys down at Warm World playing 40k, so a different game system. But one of these chaps had never ever played X-Wing, Season 1 or Season 2. And he's looking forward actually to me playing a game of X-Wing with him eventually. We've spoken about it a couple of times over the years, never got round to it. So that will be just as exciting for him as playing version 2. And that's the kind of the key point in this. Can game systems ever die? No, not if you find them exciting, not if you still play them, not if you still get joy from them. Yeah, will companies try and kill it? Potentially, because they want you to spend money. Now, the beauty of, I suppose at the moment, eBay, Facebook selling sites, those kind of things, is it's still possible for you to get into and collect an old out-of-print gaming system. Would I start X-Wing Series 1 from scratch if I'd never played it before? No, I'd jump straight in and do Season 2. Clearly, if there's a bunch of you getting into it, do a bunch of you want to start trying to track down all models? Possibly not, but for some, actually, you see these old hammer groups and these groups on Facebook that want to get into old kits, so perfectly possible for you to do so. Now here's an interesting one, just a size comparison with the Gazanti Cruiser here, showing you the scaling difference between the Ghost and the Gazanti. Now this Gazanti I bought about 9 months ago, again off eBay. Didn't do a video on the channel or anything, which I normally would do when I buy something kind of new, but I didn't because it was only came with a few of the upgrade cards and things, and I bought it mostly for a piece of scenery and it was on there for cheap. So the reasons for buying it can be very different as well. So it wouldn't have mattered if I'd bought a Season 2 if I didn't want the cards, but I bought an old Season 1 off eBay. That's the beauty of eBay and some other pieces. Comparing the Ghost now to the CR90, lovely scaling difference there. I really appreciate that. Again, collecting these models and keeping them in my collection probably for years and years and years, and never upgrading, or that's not the intention to. So a bit of a rambly video there, as I just show you finishing off what it is I've got. And hopefully give you some interesting ideas about game systems don't have to die if you don't want them to. You're still getting enjoyment from them and take fun in the hobby you want to take fun in. So, hope that made sense. See you next time.